And I had no idea how I was going to do it until I had it figured out because they just gave me a drawing.
What's up everyone? Welcome to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Lee. I love messing around with desk setups, and today I'm excited to take you through my 2023 dream desk setup. I've made a lot of changes since last year, but rather than taking you through a standard desk tour, I'm actually going to take you through a lot of the micro decision making that I had to make in order to get it to where it is today. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it, and then we'll go from there.
When I want to make changes to my setup, I like to start with a clean slate. The first area I wanted to revamp was the original walnut desk shelf that I made in my first desk setup with my dad. The thing is, from a design perspective, it's just a piece of wood on industrial pipe, so let's change that. My 8-foot desk is 25¼ inch deep, so I wanted to modify the design of the desk shelf to give me slightly more room to fit my iPad, as well as give it a more unique look compared to most of the desk shelves you see today. A big goal in a lot of my decision making is trying to merge function with design. So the design that I came up with was fairly simple, but to bring it to life, I called in some help from one of the best. All right, let's go ahead and get started. To start off, the way my dad wanted to cut out the shape was by using a router. The way he did this was by first creating a template of the design using leftover plywood. To create that subtle curve, he used a combination of stencils and a round piece of wood to draw it out. After he finalized the design, he carefully cut it out using a bandsaw, followed by sanding it to get it as smooth as possible before bringing out his router. Many of you likely don't have some or all of the tools, but honestly all you really need to get is a jigsaw, a router, and sandpaper to do most of what you see today. If you don't have those tools, just ask around to your family and friends, and likely someone will have something that you can use. After clamping down the template, he used a jigsaw to cut as close to the final product as possible. This makes using a flush trim router bit much easier for the next step. While there's hundreds of ways of doing this, and yeah, I could have tried doing this myself, I'd rather you all see what this process looks like with someone that's been doing it for 50+ years, and maybe it'll give you some ideas for your own project or inspire some of you to give this a try. Next, Dad brought out his hand planer and sandpaper to make the surface glass-like smooth before the next step. For the bottom side of the shelf, he went with a 22.5° router bit. This slightly tapers it in so it's easier to reach underneath the shelf, and it also gives it a more distinct look. Once the bottom was finished, he switched to a 45° bit for a more subtle taper on top. Finally, he sanded down the edges to soften them up a bit to give the shelf a cleaner overall look. This was the last thing I asked from my dad before taking it back home to finish it up, so make sure to subscribe below if you want to see more Kenny content in the future. Before moving on to the next step, I want to thank UGREEN for sponsoring today's video. UGREEN has a huge selection of tech accessories that I've been using even before they reached out to me. As someone that carries my laptop, iPad, phone, headphones, and smartwatch to and from work every day, UGREEN's fast charging system is an absolute must for my everyday carry. My go-to is the 4-in-1 multi-port charger that features 3 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port that's equipped with the latest GaN chip that can charge my iPhone up to 3 times faster than the original Apple chargers I used to use. We also now use UGREEN's 9-in-1 docking station in my wife's desk setup so that we can easily connect our laptops whenever we want to work in that area. What's nice with this docking station is that it's equipped with 2 DisplayPorts and 2 HDMI ports, giving us the ability to extend our laptops to dual 4K monitors. Thanks again to UGREEN for making today's video possible. Everything is linked down below, so be sure to check them out. With that said, let's go ahead and get back to the desk shelf. Now that my dad's portion was done, I took the shelf back home and prepped it for the finishing process. I first started by simply sanding everything down using 220 grit sandpaper. To get all the dust off, I like using tack cloth as it's excellent at grabbing the finer particles. If you're using general purpose wood, this is where you'd likely want to stain the wood, but since it's air dried walnut that I'm using, I use one of my favorites, which is Armor Seal oil based satin finish, to seal it up, and it really helps to bring out a lot of the wood's natural colors. This process required 3 coats where I lightly hand sand between coats using 220 grit sandpaper again. Once that was all complete, I screwed the industrial pipes back in and it was ready to go. I could not be happier with how this turned out. Desk shelves are a great way of giving you the ability to utilize more space and display different items, but they're also another way of making a setup really look put together. That said, I'd love to know what you all think down in the comments. Do you like it as is, or is there anything you would have changed? Before I forget to mention, this shelf is 54 inches long and 11 inches deep. I know a lot of you guys ask, and all the products that I use for the legs will be linked down in the description as well. Let's move on to my next upgrade and the thing that drives me crazy, a slightly wobbly monitor. So I made the decision to finally mount it on my wall. In my quest to solve this issue, I thought, why not try out a TV mount with a similar design? Especially since it says it can fit VESA mounts and it's only a fraction of the price. Well, I found out really quick why these are not the best options for monitors. The plate was so big that it covered several of the main ports, making it essentially useless. Sure, I could tinker with it, but nah. So after scouring through Reddit, I found a few posts talking about people having success with Amazon's basic wall mount. Even at almost a quarter of the price of Ergotron, it's still not the cheapest at around $100, but people were saying it could reliably hold their monitors, so that's what I really wanted, and that's why I chose it. So mounting this is fairly easy, but the hard part was figuring out how high I want to place it. I'll be honest, I really don't use this as a standing desk often, but I also didn't want to not have it as an option. So when I found a stud to mount this into, I placed the base of the mount at about 4 feet high above the ground. This actually gave me the ability to move the monitor up and down to use in sitting or standing mode when needed. With that said, if you're constantly going to adjust your standing desk, I don't know if I would really recommend a wall mount, as you'll need to manually adjust it, and if you forget to move your monitor when your desk is going up, you could run into a lot of problems. After I got this mounted, I really didn't want to see my cables at all, so I got some wall grommets off Amazon to fish the wires from my desk to the monitor. The positive of doing this is that cable management looks super clean. The drawback is that in many cases you'll likely need to update your cables to longer versions. Sucks to buy more stuff, but in the end it was worth it. Installation for this was easy, but not a renter-friendly option if you don't own your place. All I needed to do was drill 2 holes using the drill attachment that the kit came with, and then install the pass-through pieces where I locked them in by screwing the locking brackets tight. For those of you that don't want to drill a hole into the wall, I definitely recommend just using a wall cable raceway, and then take it one step further by painting it over with the same color as the wall if possible. My setup is now based around my MacBook Pro, so I upgraded my docking station. Because I edit videos and I use a ton of accessories, I wanted a Thunderbolt docking station, which is why I went with CalDigit's Thunderbolt 3 option. This option has 15 ports, including 2 Thunderbolt ports, 2 USB-C ports, and 5 USB-A ports. The downside to this option is that it costs twice as much as UGREEN's option, and it only has 1 display port. What's really nice is that it only takes up 1 port of my MacBook, and it fits perfectly under my Lenshin laptop stand. To really bring my desk together, I switched to Grovemade's black vegetable tan leather desk pad, as the thickness of it helps keep it in place, plus it's easier for me to clean compared to all the times I've spilt on my old wool pads. Grovemade also hooked me up with their new task knife, which is perfect for all the unboxings I do. I absolutely love the matte black look to it, and it feels perfect in my hand. The only thing is I kind of wish they would have made it way more sharp so I can get that buttery smooth cut that you see chefs make with their knives, but I know that's not what this was designed for. I also got Grovemade's Walnut planters for my desk shelf. Here's another portion where I want to take you through some of my micro decision making and how I went about filling these. If plants just aren't your thing, feel free to use the timestamps below to skip forward. For the first pot, I'm simply repotting one of my Jade bonsai plants. This is where research really helps you succeed with plants like this. When repotting, I use some specialty Jade soil that I found online, but what is crucial here is that it's important to not water it for at least 1 to 2 weeks, as the water will kind of act like an acid to the plant's roots. To give it a cleaner look, I also added lava rocks to the top. For the other pot, I propagated another one by first cutting the stem off of our Jade bonsai tree with a sterile scissors, and then I let it out to dry for a couple days to allow the cut to form a scab. After it dried out, I cut some of the leaves off of the base before planting it. The final step was just to water it and make sure it gets plenty of sunlight. Another plant that I added was a bird of paradise plant for the side of my desk. It's not super tall just yet, so I got a fairly tall planter. Because it was really deep, I wanted the plant to be more flush with the top, so what I did was I took some of the extra wood I had in my garage and quickly made a little base out of it. I wanted to seal it up a little to protect it against the moisture, so I sealed it with Danish oil that I had left from another project. This isn't to make it look pretty, it's just to protect it a little. To fill in the voids of the planter and keep the plant stable, I used extra packaging material I had from products I got in the past, and then I used my leftover Kaizen foam to fill the surrounding portion. I then topped it off with some leftover lava rocks to tie everything in. To upgrade the look even more, I added some forest moss to the base of the plant. The plant requires a lot of indirect sunlight and a decent amount of water. One thing that really helps me is that I've added these moisture sensors that turn blue when they're moist and then white when the soil is dried out. These are typically best for the plants that come in 4 to 6 inch tall pots, but this is a great indicator for me to let me know that the top soil has dried out. And if you've seen my last videos, my automated smart shades are clutch for helping me ensure that my plants get enough sunlight every day. Next up, I finally upgraded my sound system to Edifier's studio monitor speakers. After doing a fair amount of research, they seem to be the perfect mix of sound quality and affordability. These speakers have plenty of ports to connect my devices to and more than enough power for my office. My only complaint here was the remote was very basic and not the most premium feeling. I placed these on the Kanto SP6HD desktop speaker stands. These are actually pretty heavy stands as they are made with heavy steel and closed cell foam padding to help absorb surface vibration, which in turn helps improve sound quality. They also have a channel to route all the wiring through the back for clean cable management. I ran the optical audio cable straight to my CalDigit hub, and then I used the UGREEN RCA cable to route straight to my monitor, so that in cases where I want to play Xbox without my Astro headset, I can use the speakers via audio routed through the monitor.
Any luck finding my diary and the rest of my books?
I finally ended up adding an iPad to my setup for various reasons that I may cover in a future video. To integrate it into my setup, I added this magnetic 360-degree rotating stand that gives me the ability to either tilt it towards me under my desk shelf, or in other cases keep it to the side and rotate it for when I want to switch it up. To protect my iPad, I added a matte glass screen protector that is anti-glare and anti-fingerprint, so that it doesn't look like it has a bunch of fingerprint smudges after every time I use it. And of course my camera stopped recording here, but installation was actually really easy. I fixed the remaining air bubble by just slightly picking up the corner, and it went away in no time. Currently I've been using the iPad a lot to help me draw out some of my concepts, and I've also started using Notion a ton for all my personal and work projects. I love doing random DIY kits, so one last item I wanted to include in this video that I added to my desk shelf was this industrial robot table light kit. This kit took me about an hour or 2 hours to put together, but it was totally worth it. Alright, well there you have it. That's a lot of the new add-ons, modifications, and changes that I've made so far to my desk setup this year. Let me know down in the comments below if there's anything you'd like to know or want to see in the future. With that said, that's all I got for now, so I'll see you all next time.